How's everyone doing? Doing this raw, uncut, unscripted, so don't expect too much. Enough the BS, let's get right into it. So, when it comes to this topic, I'm going to try to take a little bit of a hiatus from it. I'm explaining a little bit more after we're done explaining everything. So, the reason why I'm doing this, let me put the thing on screen now. You already know what's going on here. The reason why I'm doing this is, there's still might be some people like me, they first came across the VTubers for the first time, especially some of these ones. They say their jokes. There's the artworks, and I never liked the artwork and the jokes that were a little bit from. I wrote them off as, that's what that person's into, and that's those jokes. But as we know, that's just a way to try to normalize this nonsense in your brain, because there's nothing normal about it. And if it's a joke, what's the punchline? There's nothing normal. It's not a joke. When the people like me or others that come across this stuff get blinded to it, it's not an excuse, but it happened. The issue now is I know. Now I know. I can't stay quiet now. Now I have to talk about it. There's others that they come across this stuff, maybe they might not talk about it, but they can't continue in ignorance now. Now that they know how they're going to take this. So, Rev over here spoke about Rev. I'm going to try to make this video not as long as other video I did. Rev over here, king of the lolicons, as he called it. The new king of Lolly Hill. That's a reference if some of you guys might get it, some of you guys might not. He is the new king of the Lolly Hill. I'm not going to get into that whole explanation. But Rev, his entire channel is basically defending lolicons. He tries to make it as up as a news channel, but the news always revolves around one thing. That's lolicon. That's what his channel is based around. His avatar literally is one. But enough of the explanations. Let's get right into it. So, if you guys don't already know, the Kris Tyson situation, don't really need to explain much there. The issue is, this is a mask off moment for a lot of people. Because a lot of these lolicon people, they like Shad-man. And now more eyes are, since everybody's talking about this issue, people are trying to change what they were as. Like, actually, you know what? I never liked Shad-man when in reality they did. But let's see what Rev has to say about this video. I'm gonna try to react to it before he takes it down, because this video is terrible, awful video. I'm gonna put it on 1.5 times speed, because the issue about degenerates is that they love to waste their time, busting on themselves, so they love to waste time. I don't like to have my time wasted. Move on faster.
So today we're going to go over some updates regarding the Kris Tyson situation. So 2 days ago, we left off on this apology post from Tyson where they attempted to address the various allegations they're facing.
This won't age well. This whole video, I saw it already. This video will not age well.
Including allegations that they're having inappropriate conversations with minors. However, since then, a lot has happened. Number one, and a small detail that I wanted to point out, when I took a screenshot from the day all these allegations were coming forward and Tyson made the first response, you can see their profile was not verified. However, the next day, you will see this blue check mark, meaning they're a Twitter Blue subscriber, and now have monetization active on their account so they can make ad revenue when people view their account and their tweets. This is either the worst timing of a previously filed application, or this is an intentional effort by Tyson to monetize their own cancellation. But anyways, ever since the allegations have come forward, a lot of people have turned to
yeah, that's what you do, bro.
Mr. Beast, waiting for a response because he has been close and his content has been closely tied to Tyson for many years. However, late on the 24th, Mr. Beast would make this response saying, "Over the last few days, I've become aware of the serious allegations of Ava Tyson's behavior online, and I am disgusted and opposed to such unacceptable acts. During that time, I have been focusing on hiring an independent third party to conduct a thorough investigation to ensure I have all the facts. That said, I've seen enough online and taken immediate action to remove Ava from the company, my channel, and any association with Mr. Beast. I do not condone or support any of the inappropriate actions. I will allow the independent investigators the necessary time to conduct a comprehensive investigation and will take any further actions based on their findings." Now, there's a lot to
Before anyone says anything, Dargo, what's the problem about this video? He's calling him out too, It's a real fucked up situation, man. But he's calling him out too. What's the problem? I'm gonna see what it is.
And there was Discord and other private messages that were shared where Lava at one point was as young as 13 when they were having these conversations with Tyson, who at the time was 20 years old.
And funny enough, you don't really go into detail about the Discord stuff, but I'm gonna get to that.
And we're now sitting here with a lot of evidence against Tyson, a lot of very concerning behavior, but there's something very strange going on in social media and in the journalism space.
And here we go. All of that, perfectly fine. Reporting the news, even though some things not 100% shown, but for the most part things are shown. So what's the problem now?
A lot of people are directing their focus and their anger to things that are secondary and not the direct actions of
You see, and now this is where things kind of derail here. So that whole first part, cool. Now things fall apart. Now things are going to fall apart. How they're going to fall apart, explain it, Riv.
of Tyson, in particular, the messages they shared with minors. You can see right off the bat, the journalists covering this are incredibly biased. You can see two situations that were very, very similar and happened within the last month or two being covered completely differently. So about 22 minutes and doesn't once refer to her by her actual pronouns. So disappointing to see Moist Critical refuse to be an actual ally of the LGBT community just to...
Discerning attractions make these kind of people. Not going to take that back. I mean that shit. That's what happens.
Appease the transphobes in his audience. Literally every other person got referred to by their pronouns except Ava. So these people...
Who cares? They're a pedo. Moving on.
Ladies and gentlemen, and also just let me share how I do things too. Like in situations like this, where you have someone like Tyson, I just refer them by their name. Like that's the most basic way of doing it. That is something that is consistent. Their name has always been Tyson or had part Tyson. Okay. So just refer them as Tyson.
This is why,
it's a simple way.
You guys see why I prefer to have this guy a bit faster speed. I was wasting my time.
About things, but apparently somehow that is an appeal to transphobes by referring to someone by their actual name and not going out of your way to refer to them with their pronouns in their bio.
Yes, anyways, we get it.
There's also another route in all this that has taken a life of its own. So
another route in this have got a life of its own. Here we go. Halfway in the video. See that name right there? Let me make it bigger for you. What's that name right there? I'm pretty sure y'all seen this already. Y'all seen this already. Who's that? You see that name. You know who that is. If you don't know who he is, he's a l0li artist. And there's going to be people that's like, actually, no, he's a l0li artist. There is no extra thing to that. The thing that people add extra to it is the fact that it was based on actual kids. I'm going to get to that. I'm going to get to that. Weird ass motherfucker, man.
One of the things I briefly talked about in my video covering this 2 days ago is the potential connection between Tyson and Shad-man.
Mm-hmm.
So Shad-man is a very controversial artist, not just for making things like lolicon and edgy art. They have made actual
edgy art. Yeah, edgy art. That's exactly how I'd phrase it. Is that it's edgy. Lolicon and edgy art.
Artwork depicting sexualized images of specific real-life children they're using as a reference. That is CP that is exploiting children, and that's why Shad-man is a disgraced artist.
I agree. See, we're in agreement there. But it's funny how that's where they leave it. They leave it there and they don't understand the peripheries around this issue leads to that. They call out the end result. But when you call out the signs, the things that lead to that lead to this issue, that's the problem. It's not really a problem. It's because they're hiding it. It's because that's what they're into. And they want to make all these excuses. Again, I don't want to speak on top of Rev here. I'll let him explain.
However, in the wake of everything happening with Tyson, I have seen multiple threads on multiple social media platforms where people are going out of their way to try to track down every single...
Look at this. Halfway in the video, he talks about all the news, and that's perfectly fine. All this is perfectly fine. It was derailing. Now it's completely off the tracks. The rest of this video is going to be about this nonsense. So what we got here? Half news, less than half news. up to here, and the rest of this falls apart.
Single person who's ever interacted with Shad-man through the years. And this thread, and many like it, contain people who have had one Twitter public interaction with Shad-man, interactions that existed before he had ever made any artwork depicting specific real-life children. It is really just a witch hunt. I just want to...
It's just a witch hunt. People who've interacted with Shad. Okay, I get it. I don't know this specific thread here, but let's just say it's exactly how you describe it. It still should be looked into. Yes, even before he did the drawings, it should still be looked into. It's not normal. Again, I'm going to speak over Rev.
To give you an idea of how ridiculous some of these examples are, because even if there are good examples of someone who might have a closer tie to Shad-man, it loses a lot of momentum in threads like this when you see people like Aki Dearest being mentioned for an Instagram post she made in 2017, where in the background you can see artwork that she purchased from Shad-man. Now, what's that artwork? It is literally safer work SpongeBob memes.
But Rev, if I was, let's just say somebody was to buy mugs, like coffee mugs, from a person who's a terrorist, and did actual crimes. Okay, now the mugs, they're just regular coffee mugs. There's nothing wrong with the coffee mugs. Okay, I don't think there's nothing wrong going on here. I think there is still some things going on here, but let's just dial it down to just coffee mugs. They should still be looked into. Yes, coffee mugs are just coffee mugs. Buying the coffee mugs from the terrorists before they did their crimes, like surface level, maybe you could say there's plausible deniability there, but it should still be looked into. You're gonna tell me, given based off of that, you wouldn't check into this? Multiple artworks? Not just one. It would be different if it was one. It's multiple. And yes, they are safe for work, although safe for work, maybe this one, I don't know about this one. But even if it was, it's still weird, man. We're talking about a person who made drawings of real kids, bro. And you're gonna tell me that we should look into every single person, all of them. Even if it's a minor interaction, it should be looked into. And if we look and it's nothing, okay, you're cool, moving on to the next person. Everybody should be investigated. Why are you trying to make it like a smaller issue? It's very serious. And you're trying to make it like you're technically trying to run a defense here. I don't endorse Shad-man and what he does, but like all these people associated with him, even if it's just a little bit, they got nothing to do with it. What is that? It gets worse.
You're trying to cancel someone for this. It really takes the momentum and the seriousness out of the entire thread, which contains dozens and dozens of people.
No, it doesn't. Okay, maybe she bought these arts and she doesn't know how Shad-man was. And I don't know how you did not know about what Shad-man does if that's all he does. Also, if he made art based off of real kids, and that's the thing that he got canceled over, how do you know if these are not also based off of real kids? Now it doesn't look like a kid, but how do you know if that art is based off of a kid that we never know about? How do you know if any of these arts are based off of kids? How do you know? Because they say they're not? Why do you trust it? Well, yeah.
People with varying interactions with Shad-man over the years. In fact, let's remind ourselves what connection we have. A lot of people are wondering and considering the connection between Tyson and Shad-man because was he interested in the artwork that did depict specific real-life children, or was he just casually interacting? But one thing a lot of people are getting wrong is they believe that this artwork that has been shown to be purchased by Tyson featured real children or a specific child. But in this case, it did not. It was just l0li art. It wasn't any...
But how do you know that? But how would you know that? How would you know? You don't know that. You don't know if it is. If he did it before, if he eventually did it, who's to say that all the things that he's done so far isn't also contaminated by that? How would you know? If he went to that extent, who's to say that every single artwork he's done has not been based on little kids? How would you know? You can't know. My question to you is, why were you even okay with that in the first place, even when it wasn't based on little kids? What is that?
Any of the artwork featuring those specific children, like Keemstar's daughter, for example. but this has been used to go after not just Tyson, but also Mr. Beast. This is a screenshot from a video from back in 2017. This portion of the video has been edited out. However, you can see at one brief moment, you can see Mr. Beast looking directly at the artwork from Shad-man.
He sees it. He sees it. He's been to this guy's house. Mr. Beast probably knows what's over here in these drawers. And what's over here, and what's in these bins. This is just what you see. But on the other walls, what's on the other walls? What's in these drawers? When you're a Coomer, your priorities get messed up. You don't think about this because you're trying to run defense force for why you should continue cooming instead of using your brain. You can't use your brain because you coom so many times that it melts it. But it does matter. If you see things, if the dude is going to the extent where he's just posting his degeneracy on walls, who's to say what he has in these drawers? Who's to say what he has in these bins, underneath his bed, behind a camera that you're seeing from here, all the other walls inside his house? Who's to say? And you're going to tell me that you're just going to look at that and just be okay with that? You don't see no issue here. Before we even get to an argument about the legality of this and that, if you're going to this extent, you don't think that maybe you should, like, say, you know what? Bro, what you got going on over here? Actually, I can't hang out with you no more because if you're going to this extent, then you got issues. And until you get those issues fixed, you can't be around each other. That's what I would say. Why didn't he say that? How long ago was this? Well, clearly it was long ago if this guy's still looking like he is before he got trued out. You don't look into these things because you don't think that way. And you don't think that way because you're a Coomer and you're probably one yourself. Not probably. For this guy, definitely. Not probably. He is. Because no rational person would ever just, like, okay, first glance, just look at it. Kind of weird, but that's what the guy's into. Second glance, and then you think about it. Why does he have that on the wall? And then the third thought is, if he has that on the wall, what else does he have? You didn't think anything was wrong with it. So Mr. Beast, you didn't think anything was wrong with it. You don't think there's anything wrong with it. You don't think there's anything wrong with it. Moving on.
Man that Tyson owned. This was their house, this was their apartment, and you can see Mr. Beast looking directly at it. And now people are trying to accuse Mr. Beast of looking at literal CP. You can see this post with nearly 30,000 likes stating,
"They make this quality better." My man, all you care about is views and likes. That's all you do, bro. That's crazy.
This, quoting Mr. Beast saying, in quotes, "I become aware of the recent Tyson situation," end quote. "LOL, this pic is at least 7 years old. Stinky, this is not looking good for you." And you can see the captions they added saying you, pointing down to Mr. Beast.
Oh, this was 7 years ago. Oh yeah, this makes it even worse. You're gonna tell me in 7 years you see this on somebody's wall and you're not gonna say shit? And Red, you don't think there's a problem with that? You didn't even think about that. The way I described it, you didn't even think about it.
And then pointing at this uncensored image saying CP art purchased by Tyson. Now the fact that they are classifying CP as art is already a very weird thing to do.
It being art doesn't make it not CP. What Shad-man drew of Keemstar's daughter is art and is CP. And even if we were to say this is confirmed and not based off of anybody real, it's still weird. Because why are you buying, number one, why are you buying somebody art who sexualizes minors? And why even skirt that line? Why are you buying porn in the first place? And why are you displaying it on your wall? You're really trying to tell me, you're trying to defend Shad-man here. You're trying to say that all his other art is bad, but this one's okay, guys. How much of his art do you own, Rev? Be honest. How much of Shad-man's art do you own? Uh-huh.
But on top of that, they claim this is CP, obviously would be implying it's illegal, and then they
And look how he's stuttering over his words over here.
Posted it uncensored to all of these thousands of users. In fact, this tweet has nearly 7
priorities. Again, priorities. I don't think you really get it. You mix up these arguments about it's not real, it's not this or that, and don't realize how these things fall apart on top of each other. Again, that's like I have a person, to use the example from another video. Person A likes to see the extermination of person B's people, but only in fiction. He doesn't go out and do it. And it's very suspicious. If that's the content he consumes, to the point where he's posting pictures like of games that has NPCs slaughtered, who's to say that he eventually has proclivities to go out there and do the real thing, to cause a mass violence thing, and then things happen from there. Who's to say that that wouldn't happen? It's all fictional, though. These things have to be called out. It's not a waste of resources to call these things out. Because once you get to this level, you open the door to watching pornography. Then you open the door to watching pornography of drawings. Then you open the door to open pornography of drawings that look like it. And you can say it's just a body type, but if it's a l0li, the definition of l0li, the aesthetic of l0li is childlike. Even if the person's an adult, it's childlike. The intent is the attraction to something that is childlike, even if it's not actually child. The intent is the attraction to the childlike object. That's weird.
Million views. So you think this is actual CP, but you shared it uncensored to 7 million people. Now, they had a response for that where someone raised a similar critique, and they replied by saying, the image is so far back on the...
And guess what? You don't think it is. That's why you shared it. You see? See how this works? You don't think it's CP, and that's why you shared it. Interesting. That's not really much of a singer that you think it is. They just fell back on yourself.
The wall that nothing is clearly discernible, and zooming in acts as a form of pixelation. Where I posted the photo clear/enlarge, I pixelated it. Hope this helps. CP aficionado. So basically they're running with a defense that they're like, my clients here, they can't be guilty because the picture is blurry. That is their defense here. It's an absolute...
Right, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if the picture's blurry or it's 8K ultra galactic definition that you can see all the way from outer space, and you can see every single piece of detail in that art piece. Doesn't matter. If I show people sharing pictures of gore, now it's not real gore. It's not real people getting chopped up. But I shared it's like, hey, look, these guys are fucked up. This is what they're into. They're post. This is what they like. They like to see people get chopped up. They like to see it. They're making art of people getting chopped up. But that's what they're doing. They're messed up in the head. Me showing that, okay, you could say it's unwise. You could say if you really think it's that bad, you could put a censor over it. But I don't have to. Like, he doesn't have to either. It's really crazy, man. But you know what? I get it. To a certain extent, I understand. To a certain extent. But as this guy explains, the picture is low quality. It already fits the description. It already is a censor. How is this not a defense?
Absolutely insane thing to do, and then they counter by falsely accusing another person of doing this sort of behavior. It's very crazy, but I'm glad this user brought...
But you don't show it. You say it, and then you don't show it.
Up something that I didn't even realize. I've actually talked about this account before on this channel, where they made similar bizarre accusations against people, and that time it involved a cosplayer named Yuki. Now, she is someone who has unfortunately been a part of this...
Rev, look what you're doing. Look at her description. Degenerate weeaboo Kuma. And then her more adults count is this one down here. Or unless it's the same account. Oh no, it's different. The C is different. This is who you're running defense for. But let's see what you have to say.
related discourse multiple times for a cosplay she did about 2 years ago. She was then 22 years old, cosplaying as Tatsumaki, and people have claimed that this was pedo baiting. Yes,
Hold on a second. How old is Tatsumaki? Okay. It's 28.
22-year-old woman cosplaying as a 28-year-old fictional character is somehow predatory. And they do that because she is short. She is 4'10" or 11.
Hold on there. Yeah. That's what we're running defenses for. Who do we have in the background? We got some l0li characters there. Interesting. Interesting. Now, one of these thirst traps type of cosplayer. Who is she even cosplaying as in the first place? Oh yeah, and then there's this photo. She went into a hentai store. Who's the character that she's cosplaying as? I want to understand. Is this a specific character that in an anime or? Yeah, I'm done over here. Let's move on up. Let's see what the spicy account has. Oh, looks like she doesn't have much anymore. I'm not checking out these replies. But let's see what you have to say. Person who... Oh! Oh, okay. Yeah, OnlyFans. Yeah. Not like this, Rev. You're promoting an OnlyFans person. That's crazy. Not like this, Rev. Not like this.
Cosplay she did about 2 years ago. She was then 22 years old, cosplaying as Tatsumaki, and people have claimed that this was pedo baiting. Yes, a 22-year-old woman cosplaying.
People, okay. Did you see what this guy said? Did you even see what he said? Do I think if that a dude is into this, he's probably a latent PDF? Probably, yeah. We're doing defense force for OnlyFans people because there's totally not. There's never been any person who does adult content that's not into fucked up shit. There's no examples of that ever happening. But okay, not relevant to this. But again, let's see what he has to say. Her being 22 doesn't really matter when the entire reason you coom over her is because she can easily pass for a child. The IRL equivalent of this character, it looks like 5-year-old. Okay. It's actually 9,000 years old. Okay. Rev. Number one, it's his opinion. Not saying that that's like a defense if that's the way he's trying to go for it, but it's an opinion. Number two, I can see where he's coming from this. People like you and others, when you do these kind of things, when you keep on running this lolicon defense force, you're going to have people that when anytime they see something that's anime aesthetic or comes from anime, they're going to assume that characters are underage. Because that's the arguments that you try to push for. If anytime he sees things that are anime related, he sees all this lolicon defense stuff, how can he not come away with that conclusion? How can anybody not come away with that conclusion? Stupid. My man, let's look at this. The stuffed animals, the older cis, and this type of face with this kind of outfit, this aesthetic, this face, this situation, the background. I don't think it's too far off to say something like that. I don't think it's too far off to go that way. At the end of the day, why are you running defense for pornographers, bro? And OnlyFans chick at that, who take advantage of men like you and others for financial benefit. It's crazy.
Fictional character is somehow predatory. And they do that because she is short. She is 4'10" or 11, I believe. And that person we just mentioned with the Mr. Beast claims also said this about Yuki.
That's not why. That's not why. You could try to make it that way. Again, you're too Kuma brain to see things in that way. Problem is the aesthetic and the intent. I don't know what all this person's opinions are, but I don't care. I don't need to know what all their opinions are on every single little issue. And even if you say they're wrong, okay, they're wrong about this particular case. You can say, if you want to go that way. How does this invalidate whatever's going on here? Okay, what does this have to do with this? Does this now become less suspicious because this guy has an opinion that you don't like? Or he said something that's wrong? Let's just say that this guy is just complete a-hole, said everything wrong, he's an idiot, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Okay. Based off with this, does this somehow invalidate whatever is going on in this tweet? Mr. Beast is here. Sees this. If this man over here has this, who's to say what else he has going on over here in the rest of his house? This by no means invalidates what's going on over here. You just brought up something completely unrelated. The only thing that is in relation is that it's the same topic, but it's a different situation. Because all you care about is to act as a lollipop defense. That's all you do. Let's get back to this.
Her being 22 doesn't really matter when the entire reason you coom over her is because she could pass very easily for a child. It's the IRL equivalent of, yes, this character looks 5, but is actually 9,000-year-old demon. So number one, their claim here is hinging upon the logic that age is just a number, which is an argument you see from...
But why the fuck does he say that shit, though? What the fuck are you talking about? The hell are you on? What does this have to do with the other thing? You brought this up. I don't know why, because it's not making you look any better. You brought this up. Why? What does this have to do with the thing of Mr. Beast?
What kind of people exactly? But on top of that...
And you know what? If we're gonna do like that, hey, it's just a drawing. You see that from what kind of people exactly? It's just a drawing. You see that from what people kind of exactly? l0li, Shad-man, this motherfucker, Kris, and you, Rev, and many others. You see that what kind of people? If l0li was doing it, we know what happened with l0li. If Shad-man was doing it, we know what ended up with Shad-man. We need to see what's in your hard drive, my dude. That's crazy.
But on top of that, again, it's like telling on yourself, why are you looking at a 22-year-old woman and immediately thinking of children? It's very strange. And, of course, Yuki would defend herself.
And why are you looking at something like this and not thinking that there's anything suspicious about this? And it's kind of strange. It's kind of strange that you brought this whole entire non-point up as a way to discredit this person, as if him being discredited somehow now all of a sudden makes this not an issue. No, we're gonna bring this. Hold on. Get rid of this person's name up top. Forget about this person. Forget about whoever this person is. You don't think there's anything wrong with that? You really don't think there's anything wrong with that? This guy, I feel like I'm a broken record over here, is so degenerate enough that he puts his degeneracy on display. Mr. Beast looks at it, doesn't have shit to say for it. And this was from 7 years ago.
Socially and sexually inept bugginess.
Hold on a second. Yeah, this is another bullshit point. Okay, what we got here?
And, of course, Yuki would defend herself, basically quoting what she's saying and saying...
Is into a short-torn adult, cosplaying a short-torn adult. With a taller adult, he's probably... Okay. Completely missed the point. But, sure.
right, okay, and then gets immediately blocked. Like, this person has the nerve to make these ridiculous accusations, and then as soon as you're met with any sort of resistance, you block and run away. And also, people have shared...
Again, who cares about this shit? Alright, okay, another issue, another point. What we got here? Okay, Rev, how does this disprove whatever's going on in this photo over here? Let's see.
Other very odd tweets from this account where someone said Japan is based, and they replied saying, it's a socially stunted place full of people who haven't quite figured out why it's bad to watch animated CP and is now slowly collapsing under the weight of its own socially and sexually inept bugginess. Japan peaked 40 years ago and has done nothing but churn out the cultural equivalent of baby food since, and now it's choking on it.
Rev. And I hate to say this because I do like Japan and I do like some of the things that come out of Japan, but it has to be said. Where's the lie? On the train, they just be grabbing ass on the train. People in Japan, they're just offing themselves, and they're not having families. They're an Asian country. They're an Asian country. They're an aging country as well. They're aging. They're getting older and older. They're not having kids. They're not having kids, and they're offing themselves because they rather cool to pictures. Japan is the country that produces the most amount of ramen out of any other country. They're the number one producer. What is that doing? What is that doing for them? They're just dying en masse. In Japan, they have gacha machines where you can buy the underwear of high schoolers. By the way, we don't know how old they are. Why is that a thing? What kind of shit is that you could just buy underwear of high schoolers in a gacha machine? What kind of shit is that? What kind of shit is that you go to a bookstore and you gotta be careful what kind of bookstore you go to. You might get all the normal stuff on front, but like you go too far in the back and then that's where all the weird shit comes from. I understand there's some places that have dividers, but like, okay, why do I want to buy a cookbook from the same place that sells pictures of kids getting rammed by animals? Like, why would I want to buy a cookbook from a place like that? I'm not going to go back there and see what all the fucked up shit that they have. But why am I going to support that business that also sells those things? They're a dying nation. This stuff is not doing them any good. They also have an issue of not speaking out against it because since it's so normalized in this culture, the sexuality bullshit is so normalized in Japanese culture that people don't call it out. That's why you see that it's very underreported about the crimes, because people don't call it out. They just let things happen. It's like, well, that teacher, he grabbed my ass, but you know he's just a dude. That's just what dudes do. No, that's not what dudes do. That's not normal. There's nothing normal about that. And even if it's a thing that everyone's doing, just because everyone's doing it doesn't make it right. Okay, everybody's doing it. Okay, everybody can be wrong. What he said here is 100% facts. And they did peak 40 years ago. 40 years ago, they still had an economy. Now their economy is going to the shit. And Rev, people like you are trying to turn Western cultures into what Japan is now. That's why people gotta call these motherfuckers out, man. That's how that shit happens.
It's probably the least xenophobic Twitter user nowadays. But anyways, as other users have replied...
Yeah, okay, xenophobic, whatever, bro. You see, Rev likes to toe the line of being someone who's on the right, but you're not right-wing. You're just degenerate, who's possibly a pedophile himself. I'll just say it. That's your politics. Your politics is busting nuts. You don't have politics. You don't believe in shit. You don't believe anything. You don't stand on anything. The only thing you stand for is busting nuts. That's your personality. That's what your channel is based off. That's all you do. Somebody sent me, some dumbass sent me this article without reading what the article says. This article that you see on screen, somebody sent this stupid ass article to me. Explain it.
To the user we've been mentioning, your time would be much better spent not labeling things like this as CP, which leads to false reports and federal...
Look at this dude. Purchased before people knew about Shad drawing real children. But like, why were you buying his shit in the first place? It's lolicon, nigga. This shit is not normal. Motherfuckers piss me off, man. It's not quite CP. Comparing this to CP leads to false report and people, false report police and charities. You're equating a drawing to the actual suffering of real children. Stop. Okay, what the fuck does this have to do with this? If this guy was associated with Shad so much to the point where he combed his mind out and became a true and a predator as well, who's to say that this guy who knew about this shit for 7 years and didn't say shit is probably into that himself? Also, this nonsense about it's not real CP or this leads to a culture. You know what? I'm gonna get to that. I don't want to make this video long as hell because I'm skipping points over here. But it's hard to not talk and not speak out when I see these things. I don't know why people stay quiet. It's hard to stay quiet. It's hard to not say everything out. It's hard to not say something. And there's people who stay quiet. That's what I don't get, man.
To false reports and federal resources being wasted on things that are inactual. Why don't you save this energy for the actual legal things going on here? And again, we're so lost in...
Well, Red, number one, it is actually illegal. It is actually illegal. Number two, you don't know if the drawings are based off of real kids. Number three, even if they're not 100% and you know that for a fact, it's still weird. It's still weird. And not weird in the sense of that's what you're into and I'm not into it. No, it's weird in the sense that you're normalizing this in your mind. You're normalizing it. And when you normalize it, you open the door for other things. Because if you already normalize depictions of minors in that way, people, the l0li aesthetic, which is childlike, so depictions of childlike, whether they are or they're not, the intent of having an attraction to something that is childlike, and you don't have a problem with that. You see, your issue with the person who is cosplaying is that people are being a little bit too zealous. I would rather be too zealous than not zealous enough, because that makes a gateway for people to slip through the cracks. Because we don't want to tackle that issue too much because it's not that bad. People slip through the cracks, and then that's how you get Kris over here, who got through a whole bunch of people, and they all said, you know what, I'm not gonna touch that. I'm not gonna say anything. And he slipped through all those people to the position where he was able to get in contact with real kids. He went through all those people that he went through between him and the kid, all those people he had to go through to get to that kid, all said, you know what, that's just what he's into, and that's not what I'm into, but that's what he's into. I'm not gonna get into that. That's his thing. That's not my thing. And it led to that. This whole leave it in the bedroom argument. That's why it doesn't work. There is no just leave it in the bedroom, because it never stays in the bedroom. It never stays there. You gotta call these things out at the source. That's how people turn into this. You ever wonder, it's like, man, how do people become like this? Because you would have to believe that people are born like this, which they're not. They're not born like this. This is another stupid ass argument. No one's born like this. They become like this. The people really got to ask themselves, like, how do people become like this? And the answer is that they fall into one vice, and one vice leads to the other. And eventually, it keeps on going up. They're coomer. They got to get their next fix. And just two people getting at it is not enough. They got to keep on getting more and more extreme shit to the point where they turn into this. Just like a person who's an alcoholic doesn't just stay with alcohol. Eventually, they might become addicted to crack or fentanyl. It's the same thing. And here you are, Lolicon Defense Force, the new king of the Lolly Hill, Rev, running defense for people like Mr. Beast. Because he didn't know. For 7 years, he didn't know. Okay. For 7 years, he saw that shit and didn't say anything. Because that's just Shad-man's art before that's just Shad-man's art before he was using real kids. That's not real. That's not real. Mask off moment. We know what kind of person you are now. That's a real shame. That's a real shame.
In the plot, people are more angry at the people who are interacting with Shad-man than they are with Shad-man, and they're more angry about people.
People are more angry with people who are trying to call the issues out before they get to it. And an ounce of prevention is worth more than a pound of cure. You gotta call the things out before they happen, you know? It's better to, instead of waiting for something to happen and then calling it out, it's better to wait, because that's the thing that they say, right? It's like, oh, there's people who are doing actual stuff with actual kids. It's like, yeah, that's bad. It is bad. Ain't nobody denying that. That's why it's good to prevent those things from happening in the first place. And this is one of them. If you're watching cartoon kids and weird actions, then you're probably going to go down that road. If not there already. Which, for you, the question is out there. But I ain't going to finish that sentence.
People misgendering Tyson than they are Tyson for messaging a minor, and so on and so forth. It's absolutely...
Yes, because all those things are comparable, yes. People who care too much about misgender, yeah, stupid. Who gives a fuck about his gender? The dude was never a female in the first place, alright? I don't care about that bullshit. That's the same thing with people trying to call out the lolicon behavior to prevent people from becoming PDFs. That's on the same level, yeah, okay, bro.
Crazy how people are taking a pretty cut and dry...
You know, I'm done with your video. Your video is stupid. This video is absolute trash. Also, they're actually making defense for Shad-man. That's insane. Hello there. This is Editing Dargo. In the video, I originally recorded myself reacting to Jeremy's video here and there, the ordering. But when I saw this in my recommendation, I thought that this video was better done. So I'm going to show some things here and there of what I'm trying to talk about here. For Geeks and Gamers, I don't know anything about Geeks and Gamers. I don't know about anything about the other views and other things like that. I don't care. It's not relevant. Skipping all this part because he's just talking about the situation. What I want to understand is this, right? What I want to understand is, see that right there? Mr. Beast is in this server.
Mr. Beast, come on in and talk to us. Again, implications, nothing to say that he was actually...
Remember, Rev said that Mr. Beast is not as culpable. Well, what's this then? To be fair to Rev, I get it, you know. That's not exactly 100% where he was coming from. But at the same time, can you not see how this is an issue? I know throughout the video, I already said this multiple times, me editing it, I'm editing it right now. I get it. I brought the same point up multiple times, but I bring it up multiple times because if you have a Coomer brain, you can't see it. But let me just show the parts I'm talking about. So basically, you can watch this video for yourself. Basically, Mr. Beast knew about this Discord server, and he didn't say anything. So not only did he know about all the stuff that Kris had going on, but he was in the Discord server, which had minors. It had minors. It'll be one thing if it's an adult Discord. I still think that's weird. I still think that's weirdo shit. But if it's adults only, it's adults only. But there's minors here, and Mr. Beast makes content for kids. That's what I don't get. And if you called this, and when you called out Kris on his nonsense, he would say, "Oh, you're being transphobic." Well, you know what? Maybe. Fuck all that, man. This is why trans, as in transit, not anything else. Trans is linked with PDF files. They are intrinsically linked. And the motherfucker's talking about him in the server. Look at this stuff. Like Mr. Beast, I know what his downstairs size is, and it's huge. Why are you talking about this with a place full of kids, bro? How do we know that this guy's going to be weird? Man, it's like when you see the things from 7 years ago, how do you not know that something was weird going on? How do you know? How do I always had a suspicion, although I was never public about it. I always had a suspicion that ever since that dude Kris came out and Mr. Beast was doing defense for him, that there was something weird going on, because it always happens. It keeps on happening. Anytime you have these trans people, it always happens. You see, you gotta call things out at the source, like I said earlier in the video. I think he talks about it here in a bit, and like what people's got going on.
Holy crap! And it's only getting worse. If Mr. Beast never said he wanted to run for president,
This guy said something very
possibly can about all of this. People love honesty and they appreciate honesty. Mr. Beast is not directly responsible for the actions of anyone he knows or his friend.
Yes.
So if there is proof that he was aware of this despicable behavior going on, that
I think this enough. This is the Discord and the fact that he knew about the whole degeneracy stuff. For me, that's definitely an implication, but I get it. That's not 100% definitive, but I think that's like, you know, where there's smoke, there's fire. And there's a whole lot of fires going around. The whole place is burning down.
that's a different story, but we don't know that at this point in time. All we know is that Mr. Beast had a good friend named Kris Tyson. Kris Tyson is now being accused of all types of horrible stuff.
I think this guy doesn't know about the photo. He doesn't know about the video where Chris's where Mr. Beast saw the lolicon art. I don't think he knows about it. If he did, he wouldn't be saying this. But let's continue.
Stuff by several different people, and there's a lot of receipts to support a lot of this. Mr. Beast himself has said that he has seen enough, and he has fired Kris Tyson from his company. You've got Kris Tyson saying that he and Mr. Beast come to an agreement or something like that, and parted ways, which kind of contradicts what Jimmy said. Jimmy, I don't know Jimmy. I don't care about Jimmy positively or negatively. I don't have a strong opinion on him. I think he's made incredible content and he's been an incredible creator. I don't buy into the idea that Jimmy is saving the world. I buy into the idea that Jimmy does whatever gets him views, and that doesn't make him a bad person. That makes him a YouTuber, because YouTubers do whatever gets them views. You're looking at one right now, and any YouTuber that
same here
tells you that they don't do what they're doing for views is a fucking liar. End of discussion. So I don't.
Yes, this person is doing it for views. Everybody is. This argument doesn't make sense. The argument doesn't make sense because, okay, they're doing it for views. Okay, cool. Does it invalidate what they're saying, though? Does it? And you're to say, you know what, Dargo, you don't care about this, you're just grifting. Okay. You could say that about me. But is what I'm saying false, though? Is anything that I just mentioned now somehow now has to be completely thrown out just because of that? It seems like kind of like a way to deflect. Because you don't want people to look into it. Interesting.
We deal with that, but we aren't in the catering to kids business either. When you are catering to children primarily, as that, and that's all Mr. Beast has ever focused on, is children-friendly content, at least since he's become a big deal. That puts you in a whole different ball game now.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen. We're going to have another adpocalypse over this. I have no idea.
Probably.
That's going to be really bad for YouTubers. If this happens, we're talking about the king of YouTube, and he's the king of YouTube because YouTube wanted him to be the king of YouTube. They 1000% wanted him to be the king, because they certainly didn't want PewDiePie to be the king. And PewDiePie is and always will be the GOAT of YouTube. This year, we are seeing so many people crash and burn on social media, on YouTube, streaming, and all of that. My advice to everybody is to be honest and don't apologize for your honesty. But if you're going to ride the fence, if you're going to try to play the, I don't want to get involved, I don't want to have a take, I don't want to have a stance, you're going to get crushed eventually.
I agree 100%. This fence riding BS, listen, when you're neutral on evil, you're also neutral to what's good. Is that really where you want to take this? And I get a lot of people, hey, I just want to watch content. I just want to make content. Do we really need to add all these opinions and all that type of stuff into the content? That's not what's being asked. What's being asked is, where do you stand on this? You can make it a comment, make one comment, and then leave it at that, then don't ever talk about it again. That's it. That's all you gotta do. I asked different people, no response. Okay. Alright. This is what you turn into when you just want to be lukewarm on everything. You turn into this person over here. And before you say anything, yes, Sneako's a weirdo. I don't endorse anything Sneako has to say or does. However, that does not absolve Charlie over here. Let's see what I mean.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, you're good. If somebody can have, do you believe that somebody can go through hormone therapy? Can they change their gender if they're a child?
I think that's totally fine as long as everyone is consenting, as you agree with.
Okay.
Really?
So as long as everyone...
If your parents are okay with it and you are okay with it, I think that's totally a familial decision to make, yeah.
Okay, so a child can cut their penis off and take hormone blockers and change their biology forever, but they can't get married?
Well...
Well, that's a decision that now extends beyond the family, because now you're bringing in a different party. So if you have someone that's your age coming in saying, I want to marry that child, I don't think that can happen under any circumstance.
So,
no.
But it's still a personal decision. You're still deciding.
Because there's
take the other party out of the equation. It's a personal
decision.
If I'm 16 and I personally want to marry this girl, she's beautiful. She's 21 years old. Her family wants to do it. My family wants to do it. You're saying I can't do that. We're both consenting. I'm ready to go. I'm physically mature, but I'm not allowed to marry because Moy says that woman's a pedophile. But if then the next day I leave it, I'm depressed, I want to cut my penis off, I can go right into the clinic, snip it off, and start taking HRT like Kris Tyson. That's a society that makes sense to you?
It is. It is. I believe.
Yeah. I'm calling it right now. I don't know. I'm not going to put a time frame, but I will say, given in the future, Charlie's also going to be known to come up with something weird. It's going to come out in the future that Charlie is going to be doing something weird with kids. I'm not saying that he is now. I'm saying in the future, I'm pretty sure it's probably going to happen. It's probably going to come out. You got to look at these things at the source. How do these things happen? Let me see if I can find it. I don't think I can right now. In the same debate, Charlie said that if the majority rules for a particular topic, that's what his morals are. So since the majority of scientists agree, which I don't agree that this is the case, but that's his argument. Since the majority of scientists and Charlie's opinion agreed that the transitioning is for the betterment of the child if they want to go ahead and do that, he also agrees on that. His premise is that if the majority of scientists agree on the topic, then that's the best course of action. Now, some people might say, well, I don't know about that particular example, but for the most part, if the majority of scientists are agreeing on a topic, then, what's the issue there? The majority of scientists believe that we should take medicine to clear our illnesses. Like, that's not a problem, right? No, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about morality. Well, what do you mean by that? What I mean by is there's been times where scientists determined morality and it hasn't been well. For example, slavery was justified through science. People don't know that. It was actually religious people who were against it. Some people don't know that back then, the South wasn't religious. It is now. It wasn't back then. There was a lot of debauchery going on in the South. There was a lot of prostitution, a lot of drugs, a lot of crazy stuff going on in the South. It was the North that was religious. And the North's religious conviction is what made them anti-slavery. Through history, things flipped around. But that's what happened. Another example. People of person A wanted to convince the world that person B and his ethnic group need to be exterminated. That was justified through science. The religious folks, yes, there were some religious people who were with it, but the religious conviction came from science. The science influenced their religious opinion. That's what I'm saying, man. Y'all need to get good with God, man. Science cannot tell us what's moral and what's not moral. That's not the point of science. Science tells us that water is H2O. What morality can be gained from knowing that water is H2O? It tells us what is. It doesn't tell us how things should be. Anyways, that's really it for this bit. Back to the video. What is this? What the fuck is this article? Rev, because I saw Azahara say something. I replied to it. Somebody sent me this. Somebody replied to me with this article as well. But did you guys read the article about this false report stuff? Did you guys read the article? Because this is like a complete self-own over here. I'm going to show you why. Here's the article. This is the article right here. This is the article. If you go to this link, it says over here, and you can go to it yourself. If you go to this link, this is the article. We got to get a grip on the epidemic on our open internet. UK charity deals with record number of reports of online material. A record number of reports of online material has been processed through UK's Internet Watch Foundation amid shock of the availability of illegal content online and could be increasing in the open internet. Okay. Internet Watch Foundation, UK charity responsible for finding and removing images and videos of from the internet, processed more than 250,000 reports in 2019. Last year, processed a lot of reports, a lot of tips. Okay, it's an increase. That's not good. That report contains between 1,000. Okay. What's really shocking is that it's all available on the open internet, clear web, and, obviously we know about the dark web. And we gotta stop this stuff. Seems like a needle of a haystack, but for every single image of a real child, as long as they're one child out there, we know some content. Past a 250,000 mark, which is the first. But it's just staff awareness. Not every report relates to content. Not every report believes that content. While we actively encourage people to report us within our remit because it helps us do a good job. Actually, far too many people are wasting their time and just look at everything they said. And so our message is yes, do report it, but stop reporting material outside our remit. False reports to this company, this organization. Now, some of you guys might be saying, all right, Dargo, what's going on here? It kind of seems like, there are too many reports over here. But here's the thing, right? I just read this whole thing. I just read this whole thing. I'm going to get that down there to this in a second. I just read this whole thing. Fine. Let's try. Oh. What happened? Ah. Interesting. No l0li, no soda either. You know what? Let's just try anime. No anime. Hentai? No? Cartoon? No! That's interesting. It doesn't specify what is not considered part of the remake. It says of real kids, and I get it. That answers... There's an answer there, but on the surface, that's what it seems like, just based off of this last part over here. Just based with this. But there's also this. There's also this. There's also this article from the same website. And you can read all this. I'm not saying all this. AR models. Okay. First, fully synthetic. Wait a second. If it's fully synthetic, then that means it's not based off of real kids. I mean, it could be, but it might not also be. So why is it included? So they also have an issue with the AI generated stuff. And it's like, yeah, the AI generated stuff of real kids, but does it stay with only real kids? It mentions it, right? It mentions real kids right here. But how do you know? How would you know? How do you know? Okay, we got other people giving their thoughts on this. So convincing they can be under the same law. That's interesting. Not reading all that. Okay, not reading all that. Not reading all that either. Let's see. Yeah, it's bad, man. It's real bad. It's a real issue. Whether it's AI or something less sophisticated. Point is that we know what the intention is. Making and viewing sexual images of under 18s. Whether AI generated or not. And or not is very inclusive. It might be the real thing, or other forms of media. And it is a danger to real children, even if no children are involved, because it normalizes it. That's unfortunate. Maybe they need to change that law. You see, it is illegal. AI generated. It falls into two different laws. Protection of children. This law criminalizes the taking, distributing, and possession of an indecent photograph or a pseudo photograph of a child. And there's another law. This criminalizes the possession of a prohibited image of a child. These are non-photographic. Generally cartoons, drawings, animations, or similar. I thought there was something. I thought it was just a matter of it being real kids or not. It doesn't really say. That's interesting. It seems that pseudo. What's pseudo? Pseudo means fake. It seems even fake is included. Well, chat, I come at the end of the road over here. This isn't really the slam dunk that you think it is. It really isn't. As you saw from the law earlier, it includes drawings. And the question still is, we don't know. You don't know if any of those drawings Shad-man did is based off of it. And you guys might say, well, Dargo, we're going to go by that logic. You know, real pornography with real actors, we don't know if the people in that are also adults. And the answer to that to say is yeah, you're right. What do you mean by that? Yeah, you don't know. That's an issue too. I can bring up a whole bunch of different arguments. Take this off the screen because it's kind of messed up to see. I can bring up a whole bunch of different arguments. But in reality, this lolicon defense force is basically a form of grooming on a mass scale. People like Rev push out this content to muddy the waters for PDFs, to redefine definitions into different things. In reality, when you come down to the brass tacks, no sane person can ever accept this. There's nothing to accept from this. This is why, number one, being a coomer is not a good thing, and why you should stay away from those kinds of people, because they're taking advantage of you. They're making you desensitized to these issues. Why are you still trying to run defense for Shad-man, saying that those other drawings are not good, but those drawings that he had up on his wall, those ones are legit? The fuck you mean legit? There's nothing legit about him. There's nothing legit about that. Dargo, doesn't that contradict 99% wrong and 1% okay? The fact that you keep on having to make these excuses about this argument, that argument, sometimes, chat, something is wrong because it is. Something can just be wrong just because it just is wrong. It doesn't need to have a huge explanation of this argument and that argument, and this country does it that way, and that country does it another way, and these are the results. No, not everything has to come down to that. Okay, a country can do it a certain way. Okay, an entire country can be wrong. It was wrong for the Aztecs to be sacrificing innocent people. Their entire society was okay with it. They were doing it. It's still wrong, though. Stop falling for these stupid-ass arguments. Stop watching pornography. Stop watching lolicon. If you watch lolicon, you shouldn't be watching that shit in the first place. Don't watch that shit, bro. It will turn you into Shad-man. It'll turn you into Amos Yee. And now I'm saying this. I used to watch people like Hippo, Kirsha, people of the sort. And I just wrote off the things that they said as jokes. Well, funny how those things were. And people like Rev, even though I never was much of a fan of Rev, I still watched his content for his takes on certain like video games and stuff like that. His takes mostly revolve around being a cooler, but regardless. The reason why I go so much about that Kiki video is because for me, that was the straw that broke the camel's back. Self-insert toddler calm. And she's a teacher. That person should never be around kids in their entire life. I mean, you can look at my channel. I only got 86 subscribers. There's probably barely anybody who's ever going to come across this video. But if I can convince at least one person, just like how I was convinced against this stuff, and now I see these people for what they really are. If I can convince at least just one person, that would be good enough for me. Or even if 1,000 people come across my video, the majority of them are not convinced, but one of them is, that'll be 100%. That'll be good enough for me. I want them all to be convinced. I want every single person to be convinced away from this stuff. But I'll take what I can get. I'll take what I can get. I'm a small VTuber. I get it. I'm a complete nobody out here. There's people who've been calling this out longer than I have, and I'm stupid. I didn't see it for what it was when I saw it. Now I do. Now I have to call it out, and others should as well. I don't know who's going to be watching this, but if you know about these people, you still watch them. You gotta look more into them and see what they're saying. Really, really dissect. Why do they say the things that they say? Why are they running defense for people who are known to be weirdos, exposed as predators? Really look into that, because I'm saying right now, the way you turn into a person like Eva, whatever this mongrel wants to call himself, this creature, named Chris, whatever he wants to call himself, the way you turn into something like that is by being a coomer. Every single locale that you could think of, coomer. DSP, coom downstream. Chris Chad, don't have to explain that. LTG, glute time, whatever that shit is. Wings, he talked about some weird shit that he watched. Fuck, you're talking about that shit on stream for. Also, he's into some weird shit. That's what the fuck he talks about. I don't believe that that's all jokes. I don't believe him. I don't believe that that's jokes. I believe that he was serious. He's saying it's a joke. That's what they do. They say it's a joke. So it's like, oh well, if it was a joke, it's a bad joke. But you know, if it's a joke, it's a joke. No, man. Behind every joke is a pinch of reality. And if there's a pinch of a reality, of a pinch of a possibility that someone's a PDF, buckshot. You just gotta get it. If that's where you're going, then somebody needs to stop you from going there, even if you never did it. If that's what you're gonna go, if you're so hell bent on this, and that's the extent that you're gonna go, then somebody needs to stop you from going down that path. If it has to come to that, then that's just how the cookie crumbles, unfortunately. Last thing for real this time. This is gonna be the last video on this topic for now. I'm also gonna stop replying on Twitter. For real this time. There's too much that can be said. And I'd rather have things more concise in a more concise video. Even more concise than this one. I'm gonna be gonna go back to my regular content while I work on the Nuke. I'm not even gonna be addressing this in passing in any stream. From here on out, I'm just gonna be doing what I'm doing. The next time I talk about this, it's gonna be the Nuke. You already got chapter 0 over here with this video. The next time I talk about it is gonna be chapter 1. No spoilers, but I got a lot of work to do. There's a lot of stuff. Regardless of what happens, it's coming. Hopefully, this issue with that Kris person and Mr. Beast is a wake-up call for a lot of people. To see these people for who they truly are. These lolicon defense people. And a lot of these Vtubers that defend them. To see them for who they truly are. And they wake up to this nonsense and gather their delusion. But I'll also say this. For some people, the other way to do that is through God, man. I know that sounds corny, but it's as Dostoevsky says it. Without God, all things are permissible. GWS with IHS. Get well soon with Jesus. That's going to be it for today. I hope you guys get informed about this video. Probably spread it around if you want to. Or let the algorithm do its work. It would help me if you spread this video around. Not on no clout grind, but as a way to let people know. I don't even tell people to subscribe to my channel or like my video, although it helps me if you do. But just to spread this video so people can understand. Peace out. God bless y'all. Stay away from these PDFs, these lolicon defense force, pedophile defense force, and kill all nonsense.